To defeat an enemy, you must know them. Not just their battle tactics, but their history, philosophy, art. Welcome to the Chiss Ascendancy podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to
the Chiss Ascendancy.
This is episode 132 of the Chiss Ascendancy podcast, and you are listening, watching, enjoying to the review of the final two chapters of season 1 of Maul Shadow Lord, respectfully titled Strange Allies and the Dark Lord.
I wonder who that could be.
I really wanted to wear this helmet the whole time, but Samuel says it sounds like I have a Home Depot bucket over my head, which is probably true. Is that
Pretty
thing
sick.
freaking cool or what?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, pretty dope. So we are very excited to be reviewing the final two chapters of season 1 of Maul Shadow Lord. Let me just say
Kind of
this.
excited, kind of not excited, because I wish there were more chapters.
Yeah, there were. We hope that there are more. Sam Witwer swears up and down that we won't have to wait, quote unquote, too long. So what that means, I don't know.
What
but
is
hopefully not
too
very long at
long
all.
to an apparent immortal like Sam Witwer who never ages? Times
Yeah,
relative.
very true. Very true. Yeah, he's looked that way for forever. I remember one time I was helping clean up a house for a gentleman, and the guy that had passed away, his name was DK, and he left the house to the church that I was working at the time, and I asked him, how old was DK when you met him? And this guy goes, he's always old. He was always old. And that was Barry Hicks that said that. And so
Funny.
that just reminds me, like, Sam Witwer's been basically Starkiller aged for the last, like, literally 20 years.
Yeah, if he was like
how
a
crazy is it that
character,
we have so much going on? And there was a time where The Force Unleashed was coming out, and every day on StarWars.com, it was just this giant header like, the Force will be unleashed. And now it's like every day there's something new happening.
yeah, that was pretty sick.
What were you going to say? If he
I
was a
remember-
character?
Well, I was just gonna say if he was like a character in What We Do in the Shadows, he'd be the only vampire character that didn't age in real life.
Yeah, it would be like,
he would,
hang
he
on.
would be an actual vampire.
They'd be like, oh, it's so sweet. Everybody grew up with the show. And then we'd secretly be like, maybe Sam's really a freaking
He's
vampire.
actually a vampire. I don't
So we obviously we want to get into all of this. There's so much to unpack, and we don't want it to be a 3-hour episode, but we would be remiss if we didn't have a send-off for a legendary member of the Star Wars family. So moment of silence for Spybot.
Booshkadoo in peace, Spybot.
Booshkadoo into the netherworld of the Force. Man,
We'll see
it's
you
crazy.
on Raxus Prime, Spybot, where all droids go to die.
Yeah. Here's hoping. My first theory for Maul Shadow Lord Season 2 is that they replaced Spybot somehow. Obviously,
they had a backup
he's
of his
like,
hard drive.
yeah, they had a backup of his hard drive kind of thing. You know how in Solo L337 is gone, but she's part of the Falcon for forever. So maybe they had a little USB in Maul's cargo pants that he wears over his metal legs. We could see a rebuilt version of him. But very sad to see Spybot go. It's funny because
That was the hardest loss. I
across-
didn't care about Icarus or his brother.
Oh, don't
but
say
I
that.
was
Don't say that.
devastated at the loss of Spybot.
So it's funny across all of the different, I run the podcast Instagram page, so I see all the other people that we follow and have
Mhm.
met over the years, and everybody was like, "Oh, what the hell!" Like, what the hell, Spybot? And what's funny was I watched it. It was supposed to release at midnight, and it didn't. And then I waited till like 12:30, and it still hadn't. And I started working on the unboxing video for the Morocco helmet that Brent sent me, and so I just decided to work on that. And by the time I was done editing and clipping everything together, whatever, it had been another like 40 minutes or whatever. And it was like 1:38 or 1:40. And I was like, nothing a little Subway Surf can't solve. So I just played Subway Surf for like 20 minutes. And I look up, it's 2:01. Lo and behold, it was at the freaking 2:00 time. So I watched the episodes then. And then the next day was obviously May the 4th. And I stayed home from work because 3 of my 4 kids were sick. We went to the doctor and everything. And then the only one who wasn't sick was Wolf. And whenever he got home from school, I was like, did you watch do you want to watch the Darth Maul show? So we put the littles down. It was like 9:00 and the boys felt like super cool to stay up late with dad and watch Star Wars. And like halfway through the first episode, Cash went to sleep by himself. He was like, I'm going to bed. And then Wolf stayed up. We watched episode 9, we watched episode 10, we watched the sneak peek for the Mandalorian and Grogu, and we watched the Cad Bane Tales of the Underworld episodes. And I had to like tell him, go to sleep. And he's like, I just want to watch Star Wars with you, which is really cool. But when Spybot died, Wolf was sitting back with his like looking like this on the bed. And then that happened. He goes, oh, hey. He was super upset about Spybot. As were we all. I think you said that was your saddest death since Kanan.
That was it wasn't even Kanan, it was somebody else. That was a hard loss.
Kanan's pretty. Oh, you said Tech. Your saddest death since Tech. Yeah, that was a hard loss
Tech
too.
was a hard loss. That was one of those that I was like, I'm not ready to accept this yet. It's no body, no crime, you know what I mean? But it took me like 3 or 4 episodes to come to grips with the fact that Tech was actually gone.
Right.
But Spybot, very sad. Very sad. I mean, you see him cut in half and then drop into like acidic sewage. So he's pretty
he's
gone.
Definitely gone. And he says, Master.
But not forgotten.
Which is sad. So real quick, let's do this. Let's just break down chapter 9 and 10. So I'll do a real quick, we'll just kind of jot through. I have some little notes of the chronological happenings. And then at any point, if you have something you want to add to it, or I add to it or whatever, we'll go from there. But basically it picks up right where episode 8 left off. We're in Nicodemus's high rise. And we're accepting, that is his name. It's Nicodemus. We are accepting an incoming transmission from Dryden Voss, the turns out second in command of Crimson Dawn. And basically Voss, this was a really nice segue into here's how we're going to get off Janix to let the show keep going.
Here's a question for you before we get too into it. Based on how Solo ends and everything progresses after the death of Dryden Voss, do we assume that there's the understanding of, hey, I rescue you, you help me depose the present leader, and you install me, but I secretly answer to you? Do we think that's like the trade-off?
Yeah, I think that. So I was thinking about that as well, because in Clone Wars Season 7, when the Republic arrives on Mandalore and Ahsoka's there with all the troopers and stuff, he has a meeting and it's him talking to, the Mandalorians are there with him. And I want to say he's talking to the Pikes, he's talking to Crimson Dawn, and he's talking to Black Sun, because there's a what is the freaking a Falleen, a Prince Zizor character, which I was sad we never get any Falleen in the season, but maybe next down the road we will. But so essentially all those people betrayed him or left him or whatever, and it seems like Dryden, the boss that Dryden is answering to, left the Shadow Collective, and they're doing their own thing as Crimson Dawn. So Dryden's thing is, you install me as leader, very much like whenever Maul killed the leader of the Pikes, and he installed the head of security, and he was like, you will be the leader of the Pikes, and you answer to me. So it'll be that same thing. So it'll be he truly is turning. I know that we leave like kind of with Maul defeated without jumping too far ahead to the whole end of the whole episode, but he is still, we have to remember, he is still building a criminal enterprise. Like, he still has the Pikes. He's getting ready to go kill the boss, and he'll install Dryden, but he'll be the Shadow Lord. He'll be the puppet master.
Oh, what an episode of Atla.
Huh?
Avatar: The Last Airbender, puppet master.
Oh, I don't remember him by name. The only episode
puppet
I remember
master
by
is
name.
the Bloodbender episode.
Oh yeah, that's a really good one. Then from there, they have to get to a rendezvous point, and everything's blocked off. And Maul knows that of anyone that he has contact with on Janix could get him out, it would be Captain Lawson. And he knows that Captain Lawson right now is in hiding with the Jedi. So he reaches out to Devon via their force bond because of their close connection. She's frustrated with how things are going, so she's considering Maul's mentorship more than she cares to admit. Maul saved her and Riley from Marok a couple of episodes ago. And so from there, he reaches out to her, very similar to the Empire Strikes Back, where Vader's Luke. And he actually sends her a vision of where to meet him that she sees in her dreams, which is pretty cool. And basically, the heroes reluctantly team up with Maul and his crew because Lawson has a way out of the city, but not off world. Maul has a way off world, but not out of the city. And so the two of those combine. Lawson will get them into the woods, and then Dryden Voss and Crimson Dawn will pick Maul and everybody up, and we'll figure out who kills who after that. Let's just get to the ship first. Before they can get to the clearing, you have one of the crap your pants sandwich jump scares in all of Star Wars. And I don't know if it was because it was 2 a.m. I don't know if it's because of the speed with which they come around the corner, or the shing sound that they put in with it. But I think you're so used to villains coming around the corner and being like, so,
right,
and it was like, no questions asked. We're just trying to kill you as fast as possible. You told me you were scared when the Inquisitors came around the corner too. What time was it? Because you watched it the next morning. What was that experience?
It was like, I don't know. I think it was just what you've said, that like I wasn't expecting it to be quite so sudden. Like I knew they were coming.
Mm-hmm.
You have the whole lead up to that, but then they actually come around the corner. I don't know if they're like really counting on ye old element of surprise or what they're trying to do, but they burst around that corner with intent.
Yeah, there's
with intent, I say.
And it's cool too, because if you whether you have like a good sound system at home or you're listening with headphones or whatever, it seems to me, because I've listened to it with headphones since watching it the first time on the TV, whenever they come around the corner, it sounds like the footsteps like quickly get closer. And so you get that like hair standing up on the back of your neck because it's like, there's somebody behind me. But I don't know how freaking technology works. But in your headphones, it sounds like the footsteps are getting closer to you as well.
Because you only see them moving pretty slow, kind of like a Jason walk, where he's like chasing them, but he doesn't feel the need to sprint.
Yeah, like whenever he's in the little subway station or whatever, he's like very casually walking down the steps to catch up to Devon and Riley. The only other moment that it was that fast is when they're in the Lawson's apartment after they go there, the Jedi go there to hide with Riley, and you have Lawson, and he's like, "You gotta be kidding me," which was funny.
Yeah.
When Marok breaks in there, once he breaks in, he sees them and he's like, Jedi, and that like triggers him into fight mode, but he still has to break into the door. So you know he's there. The door's lighting up and you're like, oh no,
Right.
there must be somebody bad on the other side of that. But when it goes from like Docky senses something and then like half a second later they're upon you, it was crazy. And then Mirak has a really freaking well, backtracking just a smidge, I will say, and obviously we want to get through the little beat points of the episode, but I want to get your thoughts on this.
Okay.
Inquisitors, the aura was like through the roof in Maul Shadow Lord.
I
like,
am
way
appreciative
better
of
than
that
anything we've seen.
because I was talking to my friends about this. I was like, they finally put some respect on the name of the Inquisitors because they're supposed to be a pretty elite fighting force to hunt down those who survived the Order, which are by necessity going to be like the craftiest and most resourceful Jedi that were around.
Yeah,
and so
you make a great point. Yeah,
thing,
they're not running down randos.
Right, they're the survivors.
Yep, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
So I always kind of hate when, and I think it's just a Star Wars animation thing that the good guys win and quickly because we gotta get to lunch. You know what I mean? And I feel like the Inquisitors kind of got a bad shake as far as being so easily disposable, and so I'm enjoying seeing them really kind of carrying their own against what I would consider one of the more reputable martial, force users in sequence right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, it's like he's clearly wearing down. His knees are hurting. He's feeling the effects of several different fights back to back, but
right.
They're definitely putting the hurt on him.
Yeah, and
so
also,
I'm enjoying that.
Like to your point, Devin seems like she can hold her own, and Docky is literally a Jedi Master.
Devin's pretty sick.
She is
also,
pretty
I
sick,
feel
dude.
Like the concept of Jedi Master is an important thing to touch on because you have that idea. I think one of the biggest problems with surface level Star Wars fandom is that in the movies, you're pretty much interacting with the top dogs, right? So
yes.
Everybody the Jedi Masters are the ones that you're seeing, but it's kind of, unless you've gotten into the deeper materials, I mean, it's not uncommon for somebody to become a Jedi Knight and never ascend to Jedi Master. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that he's not just a Jedi Knight with a Padawan who calls him Master because tutelage, but to actually be a Jedi Master is not something to turn your nose up at. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the thing about this. Obi-Wan defeats Darth Maul in episode 1 as a Padawan.
Yeah.
He's not even a knight yet. He's right on the precipice because whenever Qui-Gon floats the idea of him training Anakin, they're like, you already have a Padawan. You can't have two. And he says, Obi-Wan, I feel like, is ready to face the trials. So Obi-Wan, who is strong enough in the Force and a good enough duelist to defeat the first Sith recognized for 1,000 years, is a Padawan who's just now becoming a knight. And then to your point, you could be 18, 20, 25, 30, 40 before you become a knight. Like, well, I guess at some point, like, you're not
40's pushing it, but yeah.
40's pushing it, but yeah. But you could be in your 20s for sure. And
I feel like you're Ernest P. Worrell if you're 40 years old and not yet a Jedi Knight.
I can
do it, Master Yoda. I can take the bad guys.
So, but from then, let's say that you're 25 and you become a knight. You may be a knight your whole life and die at the ripe old age of 80, 90, 100 years old and never be a master. The masters that we get to interact with when you see Yoda, Mace Windu, Qui-Gon, Dooku, Plo Koon, we're talking about, we're literally spending the vast majority of our time with the 3 or 4 greatest Jedi in known history and other members of the Jedi Council who there's how many members of the council? I don't know, like 10, 12, 15 max out of 10,000. You know what I mean?
Well, so if you get into Master and Apprentice and you see like the threshold at which Qui-Gon earned the title of Master, like it's kind of it's a big to do. And then you kind of think about that in context with Anakin saying he was offered a seat on the council, but not the rank of Master. And Obi-Wan's like, hey, you're already the youngest guy to ever sit the council. Maybe like
Yeah.
chill out. You know,
Yeah.
I think Obi-Wan kind of sobers him a little bit with like, it's not a throwaway title. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is he says it's not going to be long. Just freaking hang on for a second. It says the Jedi High Council typically consists of 12 masters at any given time.
But even to think about how
12 out of 10,000.
Yeah. How adept Anakin was as a martial Jedi, and his mastery over the Force was not yet considered masterful enough over the Force to hold the rank of master. So, I mean, that really kind of puts into perspective.
The potential was all there, but the maturity wasn't there yet to be like, you know, the potential's there, but you're not mature enough yet to be the master.
So, yeah, I find all that greatly interesting. So, all that to say, Daki is no schlub. You know what I mean?
He's no schmuck, and that puts So to your point, of the 10,000 Jedi, very few remain. Those that remain are ones that were either in hiding, or they're doing a bearish vow, or they survived and killed a bajillion clone troopers and then lived to tell a tale about it. So the Inquisitors, to your point, when we see them get mollywopped like every time they're on screen, like to me, I know that Kanan by the time of his death has like really grown and matured in the Force. It's kind of like you're literally being taught by the Bendu and stuff like that. Like, and Ahsoka comes around and starts teaching him and stuff like that too. But in season 1, I still have a hard time being like, this is the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Like, Kanan shouldn't be able to beat the Grand Inquisitor, but he does. And so it's just power scaling. Like, it's whatever a specific show needs, obviously. But the Inquisitors come around the corner, scares the crap out of us at 2 a.m. And then Marok says a really cool line. He says, "We will see to your demise." Which was really cool. And the way that Marok just moves, like he's like, there's one point where the TK trooper, those first generation stormtroopers, are basically giving him and the Crow, the 11th brother, the lowdown on, you know, they must have broken in, blah, 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 blah. And neither Inquisitor acknowledges the stormtrooper's existence at all. Marok turns to him and is like sizing him up. It's like a freaking, I don't know. He does this thing where he's like, and then he just leaves. And it's like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's just very creepy. Like, the horror elements with those characters were very strong. I would like, to the point where if they did a Tales of the Inquisitors, I would be like super. If they treat them like they did in these shows, I would totally watch a short episodes of those characters.
Yeah, I mean, they're freaking cool, and I don't know. It's just really exciting to see them kind of get like what they're due, but then. It's like, hey, we're tracking them. You know, they're clearly going this way. And it shows how specialized the Inquisitors are as well, that you've got a contingent of stormtroopers at this point kind of tracking him down, unable to find him. And 15 seconds on the scene, the Inquisitors are like in the drain. And then to
and that's obviously
with him.
Yeah. Yep. And I don't know what other special abilities maybe the 11th brother has, but like you see moments where Marok reaches down and touches the ground and then looks up at the 11th brother like, I have their scent, essentially. Using whatever you want to call it. Psychometry is the official term, but people keep saying Force Echo because
Force Echo from the stupid children's book.
The Force Echo, I think, is a term that people use from Fallen Order.
I mean, there's that, but I believe that's the term that was used. That you remember the young adults book that has like the burgeoning Jedi who has psychometry, but hasn't really figured out what it is or how to master it.
Oh, the Force Collector. Yeah. That was a good book.
Yeah,
that was a good book. But yeah, that is very. Yeah, he's very. Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing.
He's no Quinlan Vos.
He's no Quinlan Vos. I have a really, really cool Quinlan Vos theory that I don't want to share here because I want to save it for another talk. But I've been thinking about it for a couple of days. So long story short,
I'm always here for Quinlan Vos theories.
Huh?
I said I'm always here for Quinlan Vos theories.
I'll say it here, but I want to make a shorter video about it as well. And I want to title it something really catchy like Quinlan Vos could have stopped all this from happening, or something like that. That's kind of like, ooh, what's that? But here's my question, right? Here's the theory.
Okay.
Anakin beheads Dooku.
Okay.
Okay. If they could have safely gotten Dooku's head back to the Jedi, and they let Quinlan Vos touch Dooku's head, could he have seen Dooku's past experiences and therefore deduced who the Dark Lord was because of secret conversations using psychometry to touch Dooku's head?
Do we know if Dooku's head even survived the crash?
I assume it did not, but it
Yeah.
would be very interesting if they did that. I mean, that being said, you could touch his boots, you could touch his lightsaber, you could touch his belt, you could touch his jockstrap, but it's cooler to say he touches his head. If they bring back to like they used to do back in the day, and be like, hey, here's the heads of my enemies, and they hold up a dead head. Obviously, the crash probably,
Yeah. Probably vaporized all of
survive.
Dooku and his accoutrement. That would be interesting, though.
So in the little sewer area, we lose a couple of Mandalorians. We lose Icarus, who goes out like an absolute boss. He gets shot like 3 or 4 different times. He takes out 3 throwing knives and throws them, kills 2 troopers,
Dude,
wounds a third.
That was
While
sick.
the third trooper is regrouping after getting stabbed with a throwing knife, 2 other troopers come around the corner to open fire on Icarus, and then he just tackles 3 troopers into the, acidic goo that is killing everyone. And so he basically is like, he knows he's down for the count. So he takes out 5 stormtroopers in the span of like 4 seconds. And that's how he goes out. Maul obviously sees that. Maul sees Spybot. The one Mandalorian dies. And then they get across, and the, 2 Boots, Vario, Riley, Lawson, Rook Cast.
Can we talk about real quick before we move too fast off of Icarus's death, how he managed to take more blaster bolts than the Mandalorians in their armor before going down?
Yeah, that's true. There was one where the Mandalorian guy gets flanked and he takes like one in the chest and that's it.
And he's all gunzo. I'm like, okay, well, clearly he missed out on the Beskar, I guess.
Yeah.
He has fake Mando armor. I was like, what? I wonder, the Mandalorian has conditioned me to believe that minus an E-Web blaster cannon, they're beyond death.
Yeah. Yeah, E-Web is just going up and up and up on the artillery level. They're like, hey, shoot this E-Web at that Lambda class shuttle, and that'll take it out of the sky.
Blow that to your out of the sky. You know what I mean?
To your point, Icarus, I didn't count it, but if we go back and watch, I bet you it's like 8 to 15 shots somewhere in there that he
I would
takes.
have said between 4 and 6, but regardless, it was more than 1.
It was more than 1 for sure.
Certainly more than 1.
They make it across, and you hear Marok tell the 11th brother, notify him that they're headed his way. And that's
you're
when
like, oh God, who's it gonna be?
Yeah.
Dude,
we all assumed.
I thought maybe we would get Vader like as a cliffhanger at the end of 10. I was not prepared. Even with Sammy's warning, I was not prepared for a full Vader conflict episode.
Yes. And the crazy part is we get out into the forest and it's like, hey, how far is it to the rendezvous? And Lawson says, we're not sure with all this fog. And Rookcast takes her and at least 1, if not 2 other Mandos and says, we'll go scout ahead. And you hear...
I think it's just her and like 1 Mandalorian left at this point.
Yeah, so it's her and however many left. I think it's 1.
Between the betrayal and the battle at Helm's Deep.
We've lost like 4 or 5 Mandos at this point. Yeah. Her and the remaining 1 or 2 go into the woods. You hear a really short like, and then Rook comes running back and she says someone is out there, and then she gets dragged off.
Yeah,
and I was like,
quickly put to rest the theory that she's the armorer.
Yeah, no longer the armorer.
The armorer.
And if you listen to it, you hear like a weird sound, and I don't know if I can't remember if I sent you this or not. Hopefully I haven't, because I want to break this to you live and see your reaction. So Vanessa Marshall, who's the voice of Rook Cast, right? She's also the voice of Hera and some other Star Wars stuff. She was asked by the team, hey, Maul's losing pretty much everybody this season. If your character were to die, how would you want to go? And she, partially serious, partially joking, is trying to think of like the coolest way to go. And she says, I would want Darth Vader to rip out Rook's lungs through her mouth. And that's how she goes. And so when she's drawn out into the forest, especially if you have headphones on, if you turn it up, you hear like a sound. And so the belief is that she got her wish, and Rook Cast dies by Darth Vader ripping her lungs out through her mouth, and that's how she goes.
It's crazy.
And what's crazy about that is, in the Force, to do something, you don't just like throw a feeling out there and the Force decides what happens. Like, you envision what's going to happen. And that's why, like, when you're going to push someone, do you have to push them? No. But to reach out your hand in a gesture that push, it's just a better way of like,
channeling
you're
that
doing
intent.
the motion to like, exactly, like you're painting a very clear picture of what you want the Force to accomplish through you. And so for Rook Cast's lungs to get sucked out through her mouth means that Vader envisioned his hand reaching her lungs and pulling them out of her mouth.
Yeah,
Like,
that's pretty
that
wild.
is how freaking sick Vader was. And then he comes through and you just hear
The silent Vader, I think, was an interesting touch. Not a peep, just breathing.
not a peep. And then
I think
Maul
my favorite
looks
part
at
of
him.
all of the conflict was to see that immediately, if you paid attention, the first thing that Vader does in conflict with Maul is go for the leg.
Yes.
The very first thing that he does.
100%.
So it's like, it's either he's gotten a briefing, which is possible, or he immediately intuited this is his severe weakness right now. I'm just gonna brutalize that. I choose to believe that he analyzed Maul very quickly.
Yeah. So the other cool thing was, because the fog is there, when he turns the lightsaber on, the fog catches the light. And so it's like the whole screen is just painted red with Vader's giant silhouette there. And that's the end of the episode. So we know we're getting a whole episode of Vader.
Yeah, the cliffhanger happening at the end of 9. I was like, oh my God, we're getting a whole ep of
we're getting
Vader,
a whole ep with Vader
manhandling.
Yeah, one thing that was interesting was, I get your point of like immediate evaluation. The other thing is, I saw an interview with Sam Witwer, and he was saying, who's to say that the Inquisitors' masks and helmets and things don't have some type of recording capability where you can see what Jedi they're dispatching, or you can see what person they're up against. And then whenever he said another thing that I was like, this is why we love Sam, because he knows freaking Star Wars. But
yeah,
he goes,
he's a Star Wars fan first. I love that.
He goes, well, Vader sees things before they happen. We know this, and like, he's clearly referencing double vision from the Thrawn trilogy, where like he sees things as they're happening. And he goes, so Maul, much quicker, much more agile, but that doesn't matter when he knows where you're going to be. So he says, if you look at the scenes, you see Vader be like, oh, it's here. Oh, it's here. Oh, strike here. And it's just, Vader is, we didn't get Maul at 100%, but I don't think it really matters. Like, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it since freaking Monday morning. So I've been just reading articles, watching videos, and I read something somewhere, I think it's from Dave, when they're talking about the lack of dialogue from Vader. Because you could have had some crazy dialogue talking about Qui-Gon, talking about Obi-Wan, talking about Naboo, or you could have Vader telling Maul, I am who you thought you would be someday, or you could have a million things that could be said.
Yeah.
And they asked, like, why no dialogue from Vader? And this isn't a direct quote, but something along the lines of like, there was nothing that needed to be said. Vader's presence, Vader's strength, the power that he exudes the second that they fight says everything. He needs to say
Yeah.
no words, to the point where when they were creating those scenes, if you listen to it, I'm sure you noticed it too, you don't even hear his breathing change. It's just
no, it's steady. Well, and it's very evident too in the fact that Maul, he's not blowing off the threat that the Inquisitors possess or pose, I suppose, but he's not in fear of them. And then the moment he encounters Vader, he's like,
yes.
okay, this is something else entirely. And you hear the dialogue between him and Daki, and he says, if this is who I think it is, we need to leave. And you hear Maul kind of putting the pieces together, mumbling to himself, I think that he knows that it's Skywalker, based on the conversation that he has with Ahsoka at the end of season 7, saying, all these things are coming to a head, and Skywalker is the linchpin.
Skywalker's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because
you have to believe that. I mean, Maul's masterfully tactful. So
yeah. And he's not dumb. He's
not dumb. He thinks very quickly. He's very analytical.
He lays out the entire chessboard of the Clone Wars in front of Ahsoka in season 7.
Well, and he knows the pieces. Has an insight into the way that Palpatine thinks, because you have to realize at this point, especially now that we have kind of a flashback of the timeline of Maul with Palpatine and how young he was when Palpatine was nurturing him.
6, 7, 8 years old or something crazy.
He had the most time as Palpatine's Padawan of any of the Sith that we see in all of the prequel series. So he has an idea of how Palpatine thinks on a scale that no one else really does.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
I see, you almost see him like crazy, like you see him on the trash planet where he's lost his ever-loving mind, but he's just putting all the pieces together, taking his own counsel because nobody else could possibly comprehend what he's saying to himself.
Yeah, Daki says we got to go, and Maul's like, look, this guy knows how a Jedi thinks. Aggression is the only way to survive.
He's like, if this is who I think it is, he's fully aware of how the Jedi think. We have to surprise him, and that's our only hope.
Aggression is the only possible way. He knows how to fight against defense.
Yeah. And you see alt-state Jedi think about that. You know what I mean? Now, talking about Maul and Daki fighting Vader and what an absolute clinic Vader put on, let's talk about the betrayal of, and it's not really even a betrayal because everybody was aware that Maul was just using them for now.
Right.
He says.
Right. Yeah.
Him framing Daki's death in a way that he could manipulate Devin into accepting his tutelage was pretty vindictive, even by Maul's standards.
Yeah, it's crazy how, like, we got a whole episode in episode 8 of, like, Sidious manipulating him, and he lost Savage because of Sidious, and nobody will ever do this again to you, and his younger self apologizing for following Sidious, and him telling his younger self it's all right, and we even see tears shed, and then the second he gets the chance, he force pushes Daki into freaking Vader, and and you see there was a moment,
the Boromir moment where he takes the first arrow to the chest, where he's like, "Oh God." I've just been had.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When he gets pushed, he looks back and Maul's gone and he's like, that son of a gun. And then Daki, to his credit, lands one glancing blow. And then Vader goes full on like hammer fist.
The last thing you'll ever do.
Yeah. He gets a little zap
Daki,
on him.
He's a speedy little guy. He's a speedy little guy. I mean, he gets
Vader
one on Maul. He gets one on Vader.
Yeah,
he's no slouch.
He does the whole one hand. Oh yeah. Well, what about this? What about? And then he just goes
the throne
home
room
run
treatment.
after home run. Yeah, he gives them.
Aaron Hernandez gone forever.
Whenever Luke yells, I never have understood what Luke yells in the throne room where he's like, "Stop!" And then he comes out and he's like,
I think it's just noises at that point.
Yeah,
maybe
whenever
if
he's
we're
trying to
ever
defend Leia,
blessed enough to get Mark on the show, we can ask him. But I think it's just that's my loose interpretation of what he's saying in the throne room.
Yeah,
until we get to Father, please, which I'll never not think of that text I sent you like 3 a.m. in reference.
But basically, the Inquisitors have Marok's been shoved off the bridge, and then 11th brother is basically has Devin dead to rights. Devin sees Dockie's death, and then finally gives into the dark side and sends him
sick.
away. Doesn't kill him, but does hurt him. And it is cool, or not hurt him, but like shoves him off. It is cool that she loses her saber.
Sure.
Yeah, takes him out of the fight. She loses her saber.
Yeah,
and then Maul's like, "You want this, don't you?" And
it was a very cool statement that he holds out his red crystal saber that is kind of her salvation.
Yeah, and it's also cool, and just the way that the show was done, everything is on purpose. So the fact that it's his Duel of the Fates half blade, it's not the other one that's the new one. It's his Duel of the Fates blade that she uses. And
it's pretty sick.
They end up, obviously Crimson Dawn shows up. Captain Lawson, rest in peace. He lays down his life for his son to survive. And that was a loss I was actually not expecting. I was not expecting to lose Lawson, especially since oh my gosh, I'm just realizing now that I haven't kept up on the Maul comic, which is probably released now. Him being the central character in the comic series leading into the show, I'm very surprised to see that he was a loss that we endured. He goes out. He was quite the loss.
Part of me believes. Part of me believes that he maybe isn't gone because we didn't actually see a death. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we didn't see like Donkey,
I didn't see his body floating face down in the Danube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
The no dead Lawson in the Thames. I would not be surprised if they somehow like sustain his life force and use him as like maybe a where'd they go or what girl?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What girl? From there, Vario, Riley, Devin, Maul, they all get picked up by Crimson Dawn, and then Maul is exhausted.
Cool. Yeah. I did enjoy, sir, that's heavy fire. And he's like, I need him. I need Maul.
Yeah. And it's interesting that Maul looks at her and is like, so now are you ready? And she's like, okay, let's do this thing. And that's the end of season 1. So in the grand scheme of shows, animated, live action, everything, how did season 1 pan out for you?
Dude, I think one of the most regretful season endings I've ever had. I hunger and thirst as a deer pants for water. I long for more Maul Shadow Lord. I will be waiting for season 2 with bated breath. I dare not hold my breath because I don't know what Sam actually means by too long. I feel like that's at least a year.
Yeah, hopefully
I'll be very excited when the bummer is May 4th came and went without any hinting of when season 2 would be finished, produced, and released. But it held up wonderfully. I was online with several of my friends on May 4th for just to celebrate Star Wars Day. We played Battlefront 2. And
awesome.
I was like, has anybody finished Maul Shadow Lord? I need to talk about it. And nobody had finished it. Some of them hadn't even started it. And I was like, it is so good. Some of the best Star Wars content
I need to talk right now.
Yeah. And so I was like, I need to debrief the loss of Spybot. I need to get that off my chest. But it was, 5 stars.
Dude, it was so good, and there was just like so much like character
2 thumbs
building.
Up from the discerning viewer.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I am not a huge fan of shows that stay one place for forever because I'm like, we're missing.
Well, and it's also very anti-Star Wars to stay so central for such an extended period of time because it's the galactic story. And so,
yeah, So like,
It's
I'm
unusual,
trying to think.
especially with pivotal characters, that you get the zoomed in view of this one week in time in this one city on this one planet in this one quadrant of the galaxy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because I remember when Rebels was going on, I was like, can we get the hell off of Lothal? What are we doing here still? And obviously,
The
Rebels
wolves
ended up
haven't
being
come
like,
on yet.
yeah, we by the time we got back to Lothal, things were really cool. But hey, don't forget also get your you can get your Burger King Mandalorian gear. They're doing Mandalorian Burger King helmets. But
Neat.
it did such good things, and it was like the characters were so intriguing that the world really had nothing to do with it. Like they could have been aboard a ship the whole time, you know,
Yeah.
and it would have panned
And
out.
I think, based on the way the story unfolded, totally makes sense. They're centralized. I think if you don't literally pin Maul down, he's so on the move that they would just spin in a ton of places. But they, I think they used the world well. I don't think it felt like a stagnant storyline. I don't think, at least to me, it didn't feel like it was stale by the time they finally get off Janix. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what's funny is you leave and you go to the Pike's home planet, Obadiah, and you're there for like half a second for him to like kill everyone and then leave, and then you're back on Janix.
Yeah.
Because he's
But that's
thinking about Devin.
that's, even more to the point, that's just Maul. He's freaking hopscotching about, making sure that his plans are being seen,
tying up all his loose ends. So obviously, very, very high praise. Give me your pros, and then give me, if you say no cons, it's perfect. That's totally fine. But if there were things you would do differently, just let me know what you would do.
You don't
have to go into great detail, but a couple of pros and then some cons.
I have been begging and pleading for darker Star Wars content in the vein that you don't get anything like this really until you get into the Sith specific novels. And so to get kind of the like noir tone Sith mystery content, you know what I mean? It's like, it feels really similar to the tone the first time I read Maul Lockdown. It's just very intense and focused. You get some questions answered. Like, I don't think we'd ever seen anything about Maul's actual background. We never saw anything prior to episode 1 where Maul's concerned. It's always just forward thinking. And those are always things that I'm really interested in seeing. If there's a character that is central to the story or powerful or just even cool, I want to know what their coming up was like. I want to know, how'd they get here? Because I feel like how you get here is very telling about the overall nature of the character.
Right.
It's about the journey, right? And so I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. One of my biggest gripes with Rebels overall is that they're terrified to kill off even completely unnecessary characters. So even though we lost my beautiful boy Spybot, I do appreciate that they're not too stingy with the life of characters to allow them to die for the sake of the story. I feel like that's much more important. Genuinely,
we lost Kanan, but other than that, there was really nothing. Like, to your point, with Star Wars in general, but especially with Star Wars animation, because at least to begin, like, this season was so...
Even like Sabine's estranged father, we totally could have lost him. And like, they're like, oh, everybody survived somehow. I'm like, stop it. Put him back in the grave.
There's no casualties in war. Well, what's crazy about... What's crazy, like a Game of Thrones type show, everything's going great, and you're like, oh man, they're really going to do this thing. And then, I don't think you've watched Game of Thrones, but there's an episode that's called The Red Wedding, and like, all of these characters
sounds like a lot of folks died.
Are brought to they're brought to this wedding, and you're like, oh wow, so-and-so's getting married, that's awesome. And literally a main character, a guy that you're like, this is the guy who's going to take the throne, him and like everybody else except for like one person in this very important influential family is murdered at this wedding. And it's a total double cross from somebody you didn't think had enough of a spine to try to double cross someone. And obviously Game of Thrones, the books, the shows, that's all very adult material geared towards adults. And I know they have to be a little bit more conscious of things when it comes to having kids watching the show to some degree. But yeah, like the fact that, we saw Scorn die 2 episodes ago. We saw Icarus die. We saw Rook Cass die. And then they talk about the interview where she was like, yeah, I want Darth Vader to tear my lungs out through my mouth. Like, that gives more weight to what's happening. Like when season 2 starts up, Maul's going to be starting from the ground up again. Like Devin's going to be the only person that he has. Like Riley's not going to freaking hold it down. You know what I mean?
Well, and
so
to me, I got one of my good friends here into a fantasy series that I absolutely love. It's like the best book series I've ever read. And we were talking about it. He's a few books in now. And I was like, every story arc feels heavy because the stakes are real, because the author will kill off characters. So you don't have like the presupposed nature of the thing being like, oh, well, they're going to survive. How? I don't know yet, but they're going to survive. Like the stakes are real. Like people are dying. So you can't really just take for granted that they're going to be there next episode. So it feels like you're more intensely engaged because you're like, they could die. I don't know. I feel
anybody
like that
could
gives
die
a lot
any
more,
given moment.
Exactly. I feel like that gives a lot more value to a show or a series or a book or whatever it may be. If you don't already have it tucked away in your mind that whoever is going to live no matter what.
Well, the other thing is, like, I went into this week being like, I don't think that Devin's going to die, but how crazy would it be if Darth Vader, I mean, I didn't know that he was going to come up, but if Vader killed Devin or if Marat killed Devin, how crazy would that be? And you have these Inquisitors, and turns out Vader's there too, who's capable of killing anybody on screen. My did you say your cons already?
Genuinely, my only gripe is I wish that it was more than 10 episodes, or that the episodes were longer. I just want more. I was hungry for more. And that's like, I mean, that's just the mark of a great show.
And that's, that's what you want. Yeah,
I'm finished.
That's a great result.
And I'm not tired of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. I would say my 2 cons, not really a con, just like a meh, was I never really connected with Riley as a character.
Like, I don't care about him. Yeah, he's not important to me.
I was sad that Lawson died. If Riley had died, I'd have been like, oh, that sucks for Lawson. But I wouldn't have cared about Riley. When Lawson died, I was like, oh, man,
that's terrible.
Like,
anyway,
Yeah, just like Vario. What are we going to do without Maul? Anyways, my only other gripe, and again, it's not a gripe, it's just because he's so cool. And I know that Filoni talked about this, you don't want to do too much because Maul's mysteriousness and like he's only surface level with the people around him. Like getting to see him like have those internal moments and shed a tear and stuff in chapter 8 is like way more than he's ever going to show another character.
Right. But and it was just because he was by himself that happened.
Yeah, exactly. I still, and this may never happen, and this will never, okay, so like Thrawn in the Thrawn trilogy, whether you're looking at the Thrawn trilogy or the Ascendancy trilogy, Steve Zahn, LOL, Tim Zahn writes him as the protagonist. So he's a good guy, and there's somebody bad out there that he's fighting. So Thrawn's not the antagonist in those books. In Rebels and in the Ahsoka show, we won't get nearly as much depth because he's not the protagonist. And so I do wish, because Maul is the protagonist of his own show, but he's overall an antagonist, I do wish that we just got more stuff from his POV. Like, I'm sure if you got really nerdy with it and gave it a breakdown, Lawson, if I had to guess, split screen time with Maul. If not, out has him. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. And I get where you're coming from. Yeah, no, I get that. Well, it's the Maul show. You know what I mean? I don't want it to be a... I use this as my prime example, but like the Revan novel was such a letdown for me because of how disproportionately the content was skewed off of Revan.
Yep.
And that's just such an obscure text. Nobody's really reading that. But I don't feel like it was so insubstantial, Maul's time, that that I feel like I missed out on anything. You know what I mean? Like the Revan novel, I'm like, we're not getting another one. It's completely gone. But this one, I'm like, everything else that's happening, I'm okay with.
We're gonna get more Maul
towards the overall story, and I don't feel like it was a
Right.
missed. I don't feel like it was just so, other characters heavy that, that I was like, okay, well, we missed an opportunity here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I was gonna say this was, I don't know why I had this thought throughout the week, and I wanted to ask you. So with animation stuff, it's crazy how we had 3 seasons of the Bad Batch, and they are overqualified for most of the stuff they do in that show, and then they wouldn't last like a half a second in the show we just finished with Maul.
Yeah.
How many? This is a dumb question, but I've been thinking about it, and it's a silly talking point. But how many Bad Batches, fully equipped? I'm talking peak of their powers. Batches of bad. And I'm talking
Omega included, or just the original 5?
Let's just you can add Omega, but she doesn't really bring anything to the table. It's going to tip the iceberg. But
She's got the plot
sure,
armor,
whatever.
baby.
Throw it in there. Oh, Omega, Crosshair, Wrecker, Tech, and Echo.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing anyone? Hunter, obviously. All at the peak of their power. Crosshair is in the group. Echo is there. He hasn't left. Tech is still around. Just like take the original crew from episode 1.
Prime Bad Batch.
Add Omega. Prime Bad Batch. How many Bad Batches would it take to kill Maul? If the Empire had Bad Batches and they sent them, no Inquisitors, no Vader, no Stormtroopers, just Bad Batches, how many batches of bad would it take to kill Maul?
I don't think you're going to like this answer. I think 3.
3, okay. Not as many as I suspected you would say, but a fair point. What makes you say
I'm
3?
grounded. I think they're just tactically very sound. They're going to think through contingencies. They've still got Tech, so they're going to be able to plan ahead. They've got Crosshair, so you've got kind of the long distance, almost like
if
Domino
you had
from
3
Marvel.
Crosshairs, like this one's over here, this one's over here, this one's over here.
And we've seen, from the season.
Wreckers at him.
Yeah, Maul's not infallible, and he's not as force using dominant as Vader is, where he's literally throwing everybody, including Maul, around. He's throwing 3
he's
quite powerful force users around like it's not even for work. He's just doing this as a side hustle.
Yeah. Maul is so used to being on the offensive and then people going, oh, wow, taking a step back. And he jumps at Vader and Vader gives him one of these. And Maul slides back and he's like, uh-oh. So,
Oopsie.
yeah, he's not physically imposing per se. And he's not a strong force user. Okay. That's fair. We have to remember that Hunter has like crazy senses. Yeah.
But I don't think they would be like wipe the floor with Maul.
3 bad batches equals Maul.
Well, how many bad batches would you say?
It's tough because you're fighting so many people at once. Yeah. So let's
they're not just like droids that are just shooting in sequence. They're going to be coordinated. They're going to be
literally
using each other's strengths.
They're a specialist team. So Tech, Echo, Hunter, Crosshair, Wrecker. We'll leave Omega out of it. So 5, 3 of those is 15 total people. I think it's similar to like the argument of like 100 men versus a gorilla. We're going to have to sacrifice several men up front to tire the gorilla out while
some men will die. Some bad batches will die, but then that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
For sure. I would say you're saying 3. 3's a pretty good number. I think that 5 is like plenty. Just because
5 would do it. I think 3 could do it. I'm not saying it's absolute, but I think
the thing is, if you throw 3 Wreckers at him at once, he's going to be physically overwhelmed to the point where someone like a Crosshair who needs like this much room could get the shot
Yeah.
off.
Distracted enough.
So
that,
we'll say, if you say
I don't
3
know,
and I
Tech's
say
gonna find
5 for
some
sure.
way to disable his legs, and he's
Yeah,
just
what if
a
Tech could hack his
paraplegic,
legs?
Yeah.
So if you say 3 is could be cutting it close and 5 seems plenty, then we'll say 4 makes the cut.
Okay. Let us know in
That's
the
fair.
comments what
All
you
right.
think.
I'm happy with that. Moving forward, we know that Maul season 2 is coming at some point. They did put a nice little bow on this. So obviously we want more.
I do like that, we've completed this story, and while it is somewhat of a cliffhanger, we're very aware of the fact that next season's a different story, a different objective.
Yeah. What do you...
We've closed the chapter.
Yeah. Not logically speaking, just you wake up tomorrow and you're in the Lucasfilm writing room. What would you like to see him do next? Because the crazy thing is they're talking about the 3 seasons has kind of been the standard for Star Wars animation for a lot of things. And so they're hoping to break that barrier. So it's, I mean,
in a good way, or
there is
way?
In a good way. They're trying to break that barrier for more than 3. So
nice.
That's a lot of time. What do you suppose, so you get to help write season 2. Where would you like things to go?
I mean, we're clearly involved in the whole Dryden Voss drama. Seeing how easily he disposed of the Pike leadership once he was actually in their midst, I don't anticipate it being too much of a focus, but I think it's going to be a starting point of, hey, now I have, completed my end of the deal. Dryden's in charge.
Right.
And I think it's going to be much more him focusing on Devin while he's also, I mean, he's got to get a new second in command. His right hand has been lopped off along with his right knee. And
he
needs
a new
I think we're going to have to see him rebuild a little bit. But I think he's going to be largely focused on Devin. I think Devin's the new Omega.
Yeah, she's the new Omega, and I think also that
I wish there was almost enough time that we could do like a time jump. Just take for granted everything that happens in the meantime.
Well, I was going to say that too, because we kind of have to pick up where this season's leaving off, not like to the second, but like it can't be 10 years down the road.
Yeah, I was about to say, realistically, we have like 14 years, 15 years before he's dead.
Right.
And some of that's already counted for Rebels. So
I think we have like 6 months to a year with him in Rebels. And then we have one tiny snippet. And you got to realize that like at some point he goes back to Dathomir, because in Solo, he tells Kira to come. You can introduce the Kira character and their relationship. And we don't know, like there's so little we know about that time.
Yeah, it's kind of sick actually to think about.
Devin could still be in the picture during the Solo time.
Yeah.
Devin may abandon
There's no reason
Maul.
not. But it's kind of sick to think
Devin
about.
may be the one to leave that relationship.
Maybe. Could just be that she's like doing crap for him on the side and he dies on Tatooine and she figures it out from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you think though that because he recruits Ezra, so do you think he's just trying to...
I don't think he's necessarily married to the rule of 2 at this point either. He's just kind of doing whatever the heck he wants.
Just trying to recruit a bunch of people. The other interesting thing is I'm looking at this picture right now. By the time of the Solo little snippet, he has a different blade that's like the Inquisitor style blade that you see him with on Malachor in Rebels. So he's got to lose his sabers at some point too. Maybe Devin takes them from him or something.
Yeah. But what I was thinking is it would be pretty sick to see him he needs a new base of operations and he makes Dathomir the headquarters for the Shadow Collective. Would be pretty cool.
It is cool. It's also like so expected. Like if you were trying to hide from Sidious, you wouldn't go to Dathomir.
Well, You would and you wouldn't, right? Because it's kind of a dark side nexus, so you're going to be able to hide your
It
presence
could
more
hide him.
effectively. And then at the same time, Dathomir is such a nightmare of a planet that I feel like it's a really
Yeah.
effective place to hide.
Yeah, and also at some point so like at the end of this season, the Inquisitors and Vader both know that Maul exists still, and he does get away, and so he's at large. By the time of Rebels, the Inquisitors are surprised to see him. So he's either going to be like super in the shadows and nobody knows where he is for a while, or there'll be some other type of showdown that that makes it seem like he's gone for good. Do you think that I kind of doubt this, but do you think we'll see another Maul Vader showdown at some point, or do you think that that's it? You can't have too many of them, because then it you get inflation going.
Right. And I think that's one of those things where it's like too much of a good thing, but I don't know. It would be, well, I want to say it would be cool to see him fight Palpatine again, but I don't see Maul surviving that conflict. So
Yeah.
we'll have to believe that doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's interesting because I thought that Vader with no dialogue was perfection, but Macy always makes fun of me because I care way more about the lyrics of a song than how it sounds. So a song could be not that good, but I'm like, but the words are so good. I think that's why I like Disturbed. But I think that I'm such a dialogue guy that even though Vader not talking at all was awesome, I would love to hear a conversation between Maul and Vader to some degree.
I'm sure there will be like an AI rendering of it somewhere on YouTube for you soon.
That's fair. That's fair.
What could have been?
Any closing thoughts as we get ready to get out of here?
I mean, if you've made it this far and you haven't actually watched the series, what the heck are you doing? Fantastic. I'm really excited for the future of it. I'm just really excited with the direction the Star Wars is headed right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. And you know what? The Mandalorian movie comes out literally in like 2 weeks. So
that's crazy.
Maybe they didn't talk about Maul season 2 because everything is going to be now shifting focus to the Mando movie, and maybe they'll talk about that later.
Hopefully, one can hope.
Maybe that's the case. That would be cool. What I will say before we get out of here, if you listen to our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please, we haven't asked for this in a long time, and the biggest way for people to find out about us other than word of mouth is to leave a review. So a 5-star review, write a review, things like that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That's a huge help to the podcast. It gets more eyes on us. And so, we don't have any delusions of grandeur. We're not asking for, 1,000 people to go out there. That would be awesome. But that is how other viewers who are looking for Star Wars podcasts will find us if there are more and more reviews. So if you're listening, do us a favor, give us a review on Apple Podcasts, give us a review on Spotify. If you'll send us a DM on Instagram, or you can send us a screenshot of it or whatever, we'll also get an email stating that that's been done. We will read your review on air. We haven't done that in a while, but we also haven't gotten a new one in a while. So we'll read them on air. There's a really, really good Star Wars podcast called Children of the Watch that just passed the 3,000 review mark on Apple Podcasts. And so it starts to be almost like, you always hear about like passive income. You need something that makes you money while you freaking sleep. Those reviews and 5-star reviews, especially with words talking about, how you know us, how you found the podcast, what your favorite episodes are, why you listen, whenever you listen, those things, Apple sees that, Spotify sees that, and they will show our show to other listeners. So do that for us if you would. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, share with all your family and friends.
If you want,
thank you so much for tuning in.
Help us justify it to our wives.
Exactly. So thank you for tuning in. Follow us on Instagram as well. We post other pictures and shorter clips and things like that there. And remember, the Force will be with you always.
And additionally, the only something you have here.
is me.
We'll see you next time.